It's like when they put them out the Garden of Eden, and the Lord had put an angel up in front of there, tell them they can't come in here. They say, hey, y'all, somebody set up out front. But no, here we go. But welcome to Growing Divine Ministry, where we teach people how to grow, change, and produce in everyday life. And let me say this right when I'm at, because for some reason, my dad, he probably preached one of the greatest messages last week, and the video cut off on him. So y'all just be praying that it doesn't cut off on me, because I plan on this being a good word too. But it was really good last week. But man, as we kind of walk through life now, when we look at the things that go on, we see a lot of corruption, we see a lot of heartache, we see a lot of pain, we see a lot of issues with the world. And so sometimes when we look at these issues and these problems that we see, we kind of succumb to those also. Because what do they say? When is Rome, do as the Romans. So when you see corruption and all the foolishness that we see, sometimes we try to do the same. But we cannot do that because we're under a different set of rules than the world. If not, if you play by their rules, you'll be judged by their rules. But if you play by God's rules, you'll be judged by God's grace. So you just pick which law you want to live under, or pick which roof or who you want to shack up with. We'll just say it like that. But as you just look at life, don't do what they do. Don't do what they do. But let me pose a question to you, and you'll go down here and you'll see why I say this also. What are you willing to give? What are you willing to give? And the way of God, because one of the things you have to realize in life, you are most like God when you're giving and being a blessing. Because for God so loved the world that he gave something. And so sometimes we get to the spot because the world tells you, take, give me as much as I can. Because, I just need to hoard it up for some reason, because I'm not going to give nothing to nobody. I just need it for myself for some reason. But really, when we look at our lives, what are we willing to give? And as I go through this sermon, you'll see what I'm talking about. But look I'm coming out of Genesis, the 14th chapter, and we're going to start at the 16th verse here. And where this picks up at is Abram had to go save his nephew. So the kings, or it was a couple kings that were beefing with each other, and they were having some problems. So they decided to go to war with some of the other kings. And so Lot, which was Abram's nephew, because it's not Abraham yet, he was still Abram at this time, had got caught up in the shuffle. So they took him away. So where I'm going to pick up at is where he just recovered Lot and his goods. So here we go, verse 16 here. And it says, he recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with the women and the other people. So also here, Abram was not a skilled fighter, but for some reason, his 318 men goes and saves the day from the kingdoms that he was fighting against. And it was multiple kings. It wasn't just like it was one king. It was multiple kings that they were actually fighting against. So this is where verse 17 says also, it says, after Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer, somebody can Google it later, and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh. All right, so we've heard of Sodom and Gomorrah. So Abram actually met that king. So you remember they get destroyed later on in this deal. But the king of Sodom came out to meet him, but the Gomorrah was there also. He was fighting with him, but he didn't come out to meet him for some reason. But it says in the king, but Shaveh, and that's the king's valley. All right, so they meet down in the king's valley. All right, look at this here. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of the Most High. All right. So if you guys take notes, look up Melchizedek and just pay attention to that. But it talks over in Hebrews, the 7th chapter, about Melchizedek. So what happened here is when they build this up in Genesis, they never talked about Melchizedek until the meeting of the kings in this valley. All right. For it says he was the priest of God the Most High. All right. And I'm going to give you a little treat at the end, but I'm not going to say it now because you might fall asleep after I say it. So I'm going to keep you up until the end. But look at this, what it says. And then verse 19 says, and he blessed Abram, saying, blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth. So Abram goes and sets up, and he gone and takes everything back that they were trying to steal from him. And he gets to meet an interesting guy. And this is the king of Salem. All right. And so what was so good about this is that, well, I got to say it. I got to say it. I got to say it. This is actually a meeting with God. See, he was actually having a meeting with God. So they said that we're going to meet in the King's Valley for some reason and have a good time, but God had to show up. And this is the priestly order of Jesus Christ. But see, in Hebrews, over in Hebrews, the 7th chapter, what he talks about, he said Melchizedek didn't have a beginning nor end. So that means God showed up. And what was so amazing about this is that God is here always. See, sometimes we get mixed up like, oh, well, the devil's running this thing. He's doing this and he's doing that. No. God is here. Because he had to tell Abram, look, get out of the land, which I'm going to show you. And Abram's family worshiped idols. But for some reason, he heard the voice of God and he listened. And he was willing to give up life as he knew it to serve God. Just imagine, man, if the Lord told you today, hey, man, pack your stuff up and leave to a land that I'm going to show you. You know, a lot of y'all want to leave now because Trump is doing some crazy stuff, but before that, nobody wanted to leave. So Trump's telling y'all to leave. But if God said, hey, man, all right, I need you to go pack up and move over here and do certain things, would you be able to do it? And really, at that time, can you really, truly hear the voice of God? See, that's what I always tell myself. I say, man, Lord, I need to be in tune with you so much that if you telling me to do stuff, I'm moved by what you say and not by everything that I'm hearing or seeing. So you got to learn how to listen to God's small, still voice. But God gives Abram a blessing. And he gives him a blessing also because I believe because he actually listened to God. Because through Abram, that's who we're blessed through. See, the blessings of Abraham have come upon us. See, by his faithfulness of what God asked him to do, now we're in good shape. We're in good shape. But look what he says here. And this is the one I like. This one I like. Verse 20, and we're done with our verses. But look at this. And this is what he said. This is what Abram said. And praise be to God the Most High. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is still Melchizedek talk. And praise be to God the Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abram gave him a tenth of everything. He didn't ask. But it's something about meeting God that makes you want to do some strange things. Because they showed Abram was rich. Abram was rich in possessions. And man, when he came before the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, now he's saying, oh man, I know something different about it. Because he didn't offer the king of Sodom anything. He was like, man, hey, I need to give you a little blessing right here, man. But he said, once you meet God, something has to change. See, so that's how I know. I'm being honest with a lot of people. That's why I know a lot of people haven't really met God, because we don't see a change or a shift. When you truly meet God, you say, I'm willing to do something different today. What I'm doing ain't right. I need to get this thing in order. But Abram was willing to give something up. And I just find that so amazing because, sometimes we used to argue about tithing. Well, tithing is under the law. Okay, all right. But this was before the law. Abram just said, I got to give something. God didn't put a number on anything that he was doing. He just said, I got to give something up. I got to do this because I need this blessing from God. I need this favor from God, because God promised him. He said, man, look, this is the land that I promised you. And then I'm gonna talk next week a little bit about some other stuff. But it was the land of the Canaanites. And if you remember, those are descendants of Ham. And, Noah had an issue with that little deal. And Noah cursed Ham. But he didn't say curse be Ham. He said curse be Canaan, which was Noah's son. See, so now you got to be careful about the way you move and operate, because a curse can come on your kids. I don't mean that. But if you ain't moving and operating right, it's generational curses that are out there. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but that's why he say, man, the sins of the father will come upon the kids. So be very careful. Be very careful how you live your life, especially to do right. If you know to do right and you do wrong, to them it is sin. That's what the word says. But let me show you. I just want to break a couple things down to you right here. And this is what it is. Because you say, man, how, he gave 1/10 of everything. And then so if we look at our lives, man, and we say, all right, well, we always say we never have enough money to give. So we can't give money. Let's just put money out the way. Because, I don't have enough. Because if I had enough, then I could give it. But, so this is how you give everything. Because he didn't really say that Abram just gave money. He said he gave everything. So you see that right there? That's the world. And I kind of see everything there. So let me show you what everything is. Let me make it real simple for you, because this is what everything is, because this is what Abram gave. Abram gave everything. All right. So look, this is one of the first things you can do right here. Time. Time is probably one of the most valuable things that we have. The older I get, the less I care about money, the more I care about my time. Don't waste my time. That's what because look, I'm being honest, I can get more money. I can't get my time back. When you're an hour late, that was an hour I could have been doing something else. Because we say we spend time. Just think about that. We say, hey man, we're spending time. So that's one of the commodities that we do have is our time. And I think God challenged me on my time, because the Lord started waking me up early in the morning with my time. And I think he wanted to see if I was going to give him my time. And I think God challenges on our time because we do have a limited amount of it. So he will challenge you on your time. See, sometimes we say, all right, Lord, well, I went to church on Sunday and I gave it about an hour of my day. And so I'm doing good. No. You need to pray to God about how much time he wants you to spend with him. Because even if we break that down to 1/10, it's 24 hours in a day, that would almost be what? Is that 2.4 hours every day? You would have to give God, we're going to give God 1/10 of our time. So we usually give God an hour on Sunday. And so we say, all right, Lord, I did my fair share. But if you had somebody that you were in love with and you gave them an hour per week, it wouldn't go over well. They'll be looking for some other company. But I don't know if God challenged you on that, or if you're willing to give her your time. See, I don't know if you're willing to do that, but I say, me at my life, in my stage of life right now, I say, Lord, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. See, we talked about stewardship a couple weeks ago, so everything is God's. I just have to steward it correctly as he gives it to me. See, I rather, and what Miss Terica said this morning was really, really good, because she said, take an interest in others. That's one of my favorite verses also, and not just in yourself. And so as we walk this life out, that's what we usually do, because that's what they tell us, to take an interest in you. But the more that I focus in on everybody else, the less my problems really mean that much to me. And with a lot of my problems and issues, I say I can't solve them anyway, so I might as well spend time with God so he can work on them. I can't really fix it. I was like, okay, Lord, until you see fit, we'll be in this building. Until you open up a door, I'll be in this house. Until you give me some more money, I'll be in this truck. but wherever state I'm in, I'm content. God has been good, because every morning I get up and I can walk around, I'm in good shape. I'm in good shape. These legs working good. I was out walking the dogs. I say, well, everybody can't do this. I'm strolling. But I'm happy about those things. But this is one of the every things that you can give God is some of your time. And be prayerful about how much time God wants you to spend with them. I always say, my dad, he's the super Christian in the room. He used to, he used to tell you pray 6 hours a day, and all that. He don't do it no more, but he gave it up. He saw the light. But if God is calling you to do it, then you need to do it. See, maybe you're in retirement now. You can get back to it. But really, what is God calling you to do with your time? And what is he calling you to do with your time? Okay? But just imagine what that would look like if we did give God a tenth of our time, how successful this life would look. But then the next one, this is how you give everything. Where's your effort at? Where's your effort? Where's your effort? Just really think about that. One of the things that people say in life, they say, hey, you should chase your passion. Okay. And then they tell you, they say, well, how do you get to your passion? That's what you want to sometimes do. How do you get to your passion? And I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you because, I really liked basketball when I was growing up, but I didn't become passionate about it until I got good at it. See, once I got good at playing, then I'm like, oh man, this is my passion. I can see a future in this. But see, that's sometimes why we can't be passionate about the things of God, because we haven't given it any time to cultivate an appetite for it. See, we don't put any effort into it. See, we put our effort everywhere else. We say, all right, well, man, I got to do this. I got to make a living. I got to do this. Well, man, one of the most egregious things, one of the guys, they always used to, and the pastor would talk against this all the time. And then I never understood it until now, especially when you say, oh man, my job gave me a raise. And so now I can't come to church on Sundays anymore. I got to go work. I got to work on Sundays. And so I'm not saying that you shouldn't. You got to provide for your family. But if God is saying, don't do that, don't go after that, you need to be doing this, then you need to do that. See, where's your effort going to be at? And that's going to be where you spend your time at. See, because man, it would be terrible if you get to the spot, man. And one of the ministers said this one time, and he said, I spent my whole life climbing the corporate ladder. And he said, when I got to the top of the building, I found out my ladder was on the wrong building. He climbed the wrong building. And see, and now, well, look, I in my mind, now you can't jump, else you die. So now you got to climb down. And now, once you climb down, you got to start climbing again on the other side. And I tell everybody, man, one of the things about the things of God is no cheat code. When people tell you, oh man, this is how you get God to do this and do that. No, it's not. That's a lie. They're lying to you. The only way you get promotions with God, if you pass the test he sends your way. Ain't no cheat code. Have God answer your prayer every time. Yeah, all right, fool. That's a lottery system. And you serving for the wrong reason anyway. because you just want your prayers answered, but you never ask God what you need to do. I just say, hey, Lord, I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And then I want you to go on and take care of this too. And you then say, all right, Lord, what do you want me to do? What can I do for you? How can I be a blessing to you? Because we'll do it with our spouses. We'll do it with the people we love. We'll definitely do it for our kids. Hey, man, what you want for your birthday? Oh, you want a water slide party? You want to do this? You want to do that? And man, we'll turn the world over for the kid. I remember I got so bad at my wife one time. We had our little daughter, and we threw a big shindig for her. I think she was 1 or 2 years old, and we went down to Louisiana and had all this stuff. And I'm like, she ain't even gonna remember the party. The next thing I know, she got her own cake. They got a cake to play in, and so she can just mess her cake up. I'm looking at, man, hey, well, so when you gonna get a job? I'm thinking like this is money. This ain't monopoly money, but I think like they're not even gonna remember this. But women are a beautiful thing because it's a blessing that they really care for their kids, because I don't. He said I don't. Yeah. But I love my kids, but I always told myself, man, I'd rather be respected than loved. Because we can love each other later. I just got to make you successful right now, and success for me is you being at my house one day. That's just my goal. Like, hey, man, you can't stay here forever. So I'm gonna make it where you want to leave one day. So I'm gonna put a lot of time and effort into making that happen. And I'm sorry. See, look at that. I tied the time and effort in. Did y'all see that? Oh, but man, let me go and move forward a little bit. But man, when you look at Abram gave his time and his effort to the things of God, because anytime that God was telling him to move or to do something, he did it. And he didn't hesitate. Because when we see the future of what happened to Abram, see, God promised him a son. He promised him a promise. And he didn't see the promise till I think he was 100 years old when he saw the promise. And this is what was so crazy too, when Abram left his house, he was 75 years old. So it was never too late for you to get to the things of God. At 75 years old, that's when he left house, and he went, all right, man. Well, Lord, you told me I was going to have an heir, but I didn't have nothing. But eventually he had an heir, and guess what he was willing to do? Sacrifice his heir, his son. He was willing to do that because he trusted God with all his heart. And so he was going to give everything to God. But then this is the last part of it. This is everything. Your time, your effort, and your money. Just think about that. And when I was putting this together here, what's in the middle? What's in the middle? When you look at your time, your effort, and your money, if you look at that little piece right there, the Lord said, what's in the middle? What are you putting in the middle of that position right there? Are you in the middle of that? Is your kid in the middle of it? Or is God in the middle of that? Do all roads lead to him? And we all know where we're at. But do all roads lead to him? Because the encounter that Abram had, he said, I got to give something. I have to give something. And so that's why, man, when I think about the things of God and how good God has been to me, I have to do something for the Lord. This is my reasonable service. And I believe each and every one of us should be looking for opportunities to do something for the kingdom of God. Every single day, every single week, we should be looking like, all right, Lord, what can I do? I'm your hands, I'm your feet. What can I do for you today? You know what the Lord told me one time? He said, man, quit praying about everything. Just do something. That's what he told me. He told you, oh, well, Lord, I want to be a black man. Give him some money. Quit playing. You ain't got to pray about that. He said, man, give him some of your time. You need to go out to lunch with that person. Give him some of your time. You ain't got to pray about this. You pray about it because you know you don't want to do it. You never prayed about vacation. Am I lying? When did you ask God, oh, Lord, where should I vacation at? We pray about everything else. Because I want them to. I ain't never prayed about vacation. I said, I'm going here. That's where I'm going. And Lord ain't never been upset with me about it. Man, don't you be going down there doing that. We don't pray about that. But when it comes to the things of God and it comes to something that's going to cost us, now we got to pray about it. And Abram, what he told the other kings too, he told the other king, he said, look, man, thanks for bringing this stuff back. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you that. I'm going to do this. He said, nah, I don't want nothing from you. He knew who Sodom was. I'm not taking nothing from a crook. He ain't about to sit here and talk about you bless me. Say, no, my God is going to bless me. I don't need nothing from your crooked hands. We knew what they were doing down there in Sodom and Gomorrah. Not too much longer. I guess Abram didn't get the vision in, but he said, man, y'all better get your house in order. Y'all gonna be out of here pretty soon. Guess it wasn't for him to say it, but he said, hey, but he was actually interceding for that city. He said, look, Lord, if you just find such and such righteous, please don't destroy it. I'd have been sitting up there, take them out. Yeah, that's some foolishness there. But that's not the right thing to do. But just think about that, man. What would our lives look like if we truly gave God a tenth of everything that we have? And he didn't ask for the tenth. He didn't. In the New Testament, he said, man, freely you receive, so freely give. He put the onus on us. What do you want? How do you want to be a blessing? How do you want to be a blessing? And now everything looks different. When you truly get it in your heart, like, man, every single day, I want this to cost me something because I'm not a freeloader. I'm not looking for something for free, but I want to be a blessing to others. Life does not remember takers. It remembers givers. People that gave, that's how they are remembered in history. We don't remember takers. We remember givers. Martin Luther King gave everything. Abraham Lincoln gave his life too. Christ gave it all. So we remember these people. We don't remember people that always are like me, me, me. If we do, we're not going to remember in a good light. So we get to the place, and it was a beautiful thing because Abram gave Lot. He said, look, Lot, you pick what you want to pick anyway. Lot took the best of everything. Lot did. And that's the one he went and saved. Lot took the best and was made sure it never said that he blessed Abram with nothing. He was always looking out for himself, but Abram was still willing to go save him. So let me give you this last thing for the people come back. You will never and truly encounter God if you're not a giver. Unless you're going to do it some other way. Unless you're willing to do it some other way. Because first off, you have to give your life to him. So that's the beginning stage of it. That's how this thing starts. You have to accept him as your Lord and Savior. You're giving something up right then. And now as God continues to move you, you have to say, all right, Lord, what do I have to give up next? Because he says, if you bear fruit, he'll cut you back. Why? So you bear more good fruit. And then, as I told you guys a few weeks ago, it might have been a couple weeks ago, is that the fruit is not for you. You're producing fruit for others so that you have something to give them. That's what we're here for, to give, to be a blessing. Just study the life of Christ. He went around being a blessing to those who he came in contact with. It wasn't like, oh, y'all should be worshiping me. Do y'all know who I am? I came down from glory to save y'all fools. But he didn't. He didn't. He had mercy on them because they didn't know any better. See, and that's what the people that you usually give to aren't going to be the ones that bless you. But you have to be so in tune with the spirit that God is leading and guiding you every step of the way so you give correctly. But I see the kids walking in, so we'll get ready to pray. But God has been so good to probably each and every one of us. So as we move forward, we have to figure out ways to truly give of our time, of our efforts, and of our money like never before.